The ship drifted in silence, wrapped in a darkness so deep it felt like the universe itself had forgotten this place. Commander Mara Hale floated inside the narrow survival corridor of the Wayfarer's Promise, her breath coming out in pale clouds that vanished almost as soon as they formed. The lights along the walls flickered weakly, casting long shadows that stretched and shrank like living things. Every system on the ship had failed at once, frozen by the cold pulse of the dead star they had passed too close to. Now they were nothing more than a quiet shape in the endless night. Mara pressed her gloved hand against the metal wall. It was so cold it burned, even through the thick fabric. The ship had been built to survive harsh space, but this kind of cold was different. It wasn't just low temperature. It felt like something that wanted to take warmth away from everything it touched. "Status?" she asked, her voice low and steady, even though her chest felt tight. A soft, clicking sound answered her. Kale stood a few steps away, his tall, slender form half-lit by the failing lights. His species came from a world of deep ice and endless winter. Where humans needed heat to live, Kale's people carried warmth inside their bodies, a natural shield against the cold. "Life support is fading," Kale said. His voice had a calm tone, but his eyes glowed faintly, a sign of worry for his kind. "We have minutes, maybe less." Mara nodded. Panic would not help them now. It never did. She had been trained to think when everything else fell apart. Still, the cold was creeping into her bones, slow and heavy, like a weight she could not push away. Around them, the rest of the crew was scattered in other sections of the ship, sealed behind emergency doors. Communications were down. The only thing connecting Mara and Kale to the others was a thin thread of hope that the power could come back. Mara moved toward a panel at the end of the corridor. It was the manual power relay. Old design, simple. It had been added for humans, back when the Alliance believed machines could fail, but people would always find a way. Her fingers shook as she opened the cover. Inside, thick cables were coated in frost, white and hard like stone. She wiped at them, but the cold bit into her gloves. "Let me," Kale said, stepping closer. Mara shook her head. "Your hands aren't built for this. If you touch those wires, the heat in you could trigger a surge." Kale hesitated. His people avoided physical contact, not just with humans, but with almost everyone. Heat transfer was dangerous to them. Too much could shock their systems. Still, he stayed close, watching her work. Mara took a slow breath and reached inside the panel. She twisted the first connector. It didn't move. She tried again, putting more strength into it. Pain shot up her arm as the metal stole warmth from her skin. "Come on," she whispered. The connector turned just a little. The lights above them flickered brighter for a moment, then dimmed again. Kale's eyes widened. "It worked." "Not enough," Mara said. "We need a full connection." Her vision blurred. The cold was slowing her, making every movement feel like it took twice the effort. She forced herself to focus on the wires, on the simple goal in front of her. Turn, lock, connect. Suddenly her hands slipped. She gasped as the panel snapped shut, trapping her fingers for a second before she pulled free. Kale stepped forward without thinking. "Mara," he said, his voice sharper than before. She turned to answer him, but her knees gave out. The world tilted and she felt herself falling. Strong arms caught her. Kale held her close, his body warm even through both of their suits. Heat spread into her like a wave, slow and deep. She sucked in a breath, surprised by how good it felt, how alive it made her feel. Kale froze. For his kind, this was wrong. Contact like this was reserved for family bonds, for rituals of trust that took years to earn. But he did not let go. "You are too cold," he said quietly. Mara tried to pull back, but her body refused to listen. The warmth was the only thing keeping her awake now. "I'm fine," she lied. Kale shifted, pressing her closer, sharing more of his heat. "You are not." The lights dimmed again, even lower than before. The corridor sank into near darkness, broken only by the faint glow of Kale's eyes and the distant stars outside the small window at the end of the hall. Somewhere beyond the ship, something moved. Mara felt it before she saw it. A shadow passed across the stars, large and slow, like a cloud drifting over a moon. Her heart beat faster. "Do you see that?" she whispered. Kale turned his head toward the window, his eyes narrowed. "Yes." The shadow moved again. This time it blocked out entire clusters of stars, leaving a black shape in the dark. It was not a ship. It had no straight lines, no lights, no signs of metal. "It's alive," Kale said. Mara swallowed. "Of course it is, because today wasn't bad enough." She pushed herself upright, using Kale's shoulder for support. The cold rushed back into her, sharp and angry, but she stayed on her feet. "We need power," she said. "Now," Kale nodded. "I will help." They went back to the panel together. This time, Kale used his body to shield Mara from the worst of the cold, standing close, blocking the freezing air that flowed through the cracked hull. Mara reached inside again. Her hands were steadier now, warmed by Kale's heat. She turned the final connector. The ship groaned. A low sound rolled through the metal walls like something waking up after a long sleep. The lights flared, bright and strong, washing the corridor in white. Myra laughed, a short, breathless sound. "Yes!" But the joy lasted only a second. The sensors came back online. A warning tone echoed through the hall, slow and heavy. Kale looked at the display above the panel. His eyes widened. "The life form," he said. "It is approaching." Myra followed his gaze. The screen showed a rough shape, massive and moving, drawn toward the ship like a hunter following a trail. "How big?" she asked. Kale hesitated. "Bigger than anything I have seen." Mara let out a slow breath. "Figures." She tapped her wrist, trying to reach the rest of the crew. Static answered her. "Come on," she muttered. "Don't do this now." Kale placed a hand on the panel. The lights flickered again, but this time they stayed on. "You gave the ship life," he said. "Now we must keep it." Mara smiled at that, even with fear curling in her chest. "That's the plan." The shadow outside the window moved closer. Its shape became clearer, long and wide, with tendrils that shifted like smoke in water. Mara felt small, standing there in a thin metal shell between that thing and the rest of the universe. She straightened her shoulders. "We don't run yet," she said. "First, we see what it wants." Kale looked at her, studying her face. "And if it wants us," Mara met his glowing eyes, "then we make it regret it." The ship's engines hummed softly, not enough to move them, but enough to promise that they still had a chance. In the freezing dark, with something ancient and hungry drifting closer, a human and an alien stood side by side, holding on to warmth, to light, and to the simple, stubborn idea that they were not done yet. The warning tone echoed through the ship again, slow and heavy, like a heartbeat that did not belong to anyone inside. Myra and Kale moved down the corridor as the light stabilized. The floor vibrated under their boots, a soft hum running through the metal as the Wayfarer's promise struggled to wake its systems. The cold was still there, but it had pulled back, no longer biting as hard as before. It felt like a predator that had stepped into the light and decided to wait. Myra tapped her wrist again. This time, the communicator crackled to life. "Bridge, this is Commander Hale," she said. "Report." A burst of static answered, then a voice pushed through. "This is Terran in engineering. We've got partial power. Heat is coming back in some sections, but the engines are still locked." "Any visual on the external threat?" Mara asked. There was a pause. "Sensors say it's big, bigger than the ship, bigger than most things. It's circling us." Mara looked at Kale. He stood still, listening, his eyes glowing brighter in the low light. "Keep the power flowing," she said. "We'll be there soon." They moved toward the bridge, their footsteps loud in the quiet ship. Doors slid open as they approached, responding to the returning energy. The halls felt empty, but not alone. The shadow outside seemed to follow them, even through walls of steel. When they reached the bridge, the main screen lit up, showing a field of distant stars and between them a dark shape that did not reflect light. The creature drifted like a living cloud. Long shapes extended from its center, curling and uncurling as if tasting the space around it. Each movement was slow, but full of purpose. Terran stood near the control panel, his skin a soft blue, his species built for ocean worlds, not frozen space. His eyes were wide as he stared at the screen. "It's reacting to us," he said. "Every time our power spikes, it turns." Kale stepped closer to the display. "It senses energy, heat, motion, life." Mara crossed her arms, thinking, "So we're a signal flare." "Yes," Kale said. "A bright one." The ship shuddered as one of the engines tried to start and failed. The creature outside shifted, turning fully toward them now. Mara felt her stomach drop. "Okay, no more tests." She moved to the main control seat and sat down. The chair felt too big, too cold, but it was hers. She placed her hands on the panel, bringing up every system they had. "We can't outrun it," Terran said. "Even at full power, it's faster." Mara nodded. "Then we don't run." Kale tilted his head. "Explain." Mara's eyes stayed on the screen. Predators chase, they expect fear, they expect movement. What they don't expect is something to stand its ground. Terran made a small, nervous sound. "That's your plan, stand still." Not exactly, Mara said. We give it something better to look at. She opened the external systems and brought up the ship's heat vents. We dump heat in one direction, make a trail. If it follows, we move the ship the other way. Kale considered this. You would lead it away. Someone has to, Mara said. Kale's eyes narrowed. You would use yourself again. Mara met his gaze. I'm the one it wants most. Human heat is different, stronger, more unstable. Terran shook his head. That's not safe. Mara smiled a little. None of this is. She stood and walked toward the airlock control. Kale followed her, his steps quick and light. You are not alone, he said. Mara stopped and turned. Kale, I need you on the bridge. They'll listen to you if I don't make it back. Kale stepped closer, his voice low. I will not lead them away from you. Mara took a breath. The ship hummed around them, alive again, but fragile. You already broke your rules for me, she said softly. Now let me break a few for you. Kale hesitated. His kind believed in balance, in careful action. Humans believed in leaps. Before he could answer, the ship shook again, harder this time. The creature outside brushed against the hull, not with force, but with curiosity. The metal groaned under the touch. Terran's voice came through the speakers. It's testing us. Mara didn't wait. She opened the airlock control and set the heat vent sequence. The ship's systems whined as they redirected power. Kale reached out and grabbed her arm. His touch was warm, steady. If you go, I go. Mara looked at him, really looked at him. The glow in his eyes, the quiet strength in his posture. Fine, she said, but you follow my lead. They moved to the secondary hatch, a small opening that led to an external platform. Mara sealed her helmet and checked Kale's suit. It wasn't built for open space, but it could hold for a short time. The hatch opened. Cold rushed in like a living thing. Space stretched out in front of them, endless and dark, stars sharp and bright. The creature was closer now. Close enough that Mara could see the slow ripple of its body, the way its shape bent light around it. Mara stepped out onto the platform and activated the heat dump. A wave of warmth poured into space, invisible but powerful. The creature reacted at once, its tendrils reaching toward the source. Good, Mara whispered. Come on. Kale stood beside her, his body a steady source of warmth even through the suit. It is following. The ship's engines hummed louder. Terran had gotten one of them online. Mara raised her hand and gave the signal. The Wayfarer's promise moved, slow at first, then faster, sliding away from the heat trail. The creature followed the warmth, drifting after the fading signal. For a moment it worked. Then the creature stopped. Mara's heart skipped. The tendrils pulled back. The dark center turned, facing them instead of the trail. It's not fooled, Kale said. The creature moved, not toward the heat, toward them. Mara grabbed Kale's arm. Back inside now. They rushed for the hatch as the ship shook, the creature's presence pressing against the hull like a heavy storm. Inside, alarms blared. The bridge lights flashed red. Terran shouted over the noise. It's locking onto our core systems. Mara slid into the command seat again, her hands flying over the controls. Can we jump? No, Terran said. Not yet. Kale stepped forward. It does not just hunt, it learns. Mara swallowed. Great, a smart monster. She took a deep breath and forced herself to slow down. Humans were good at many things, but their best skill was thinking when everything said to panic. What does it want? She asked. Kale looked at the screen. Energy, life, heat, motion. Mara's eyes drifted to a small panel on the side of the console. A symbol glowed there, old and simple. Communications, an idea sparked. Terran, she said, can you route power to the comms array? Why? He asked. Just do it. The ship shuddered as more systems came online. The creature outside pulsed, reacting to the surge. Mara opened the channel not to send a message, but to send a signal. A low hum filled the bridge, deep and steady. Kale tilted his head. What is that sound? Mara smiled, even as her heart raced. It's something from Earth, music. The hum grew, spreading through the ship, through space. The creature paused, its tendrils slowed. For the first time since it appeared, it did not move toward them. Mara leaned forward, watching the screen. Let's see if you can hear us, she whispered. In the freezing dark, with a song echoing through the void, the ship and its crew waited to see if something ancient and hungry could learn something new. The low hum filled the ship like a heartbeat made of sound instead of blood. Mara kept her hands steady on the control panel as the music spread through the metal walls and out into the open dark. The tone was simple, slow, and deep, something old from Earth that humans once used to calm storms in their own minds. Now it drifted into space, carried by the ship's systems like a fragile thread. On the main screen, the creature stopped moving. Its tendrils, which had been reaching and curling with restless hunger, froze in place. The dark center of its body pulsed, not fast or slow, but in time with the sound. Terran leaned forward, his wide eyes fixed on the display. "It's reacting," he said. "Not like before." Kale stepped closer to the screen. His glowing eyes reflected the shadowed shape outside. "It is not hunting," he said. "It is listening." Mara let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Good, that means we've got its attention." The hum shifted, rising slightly, then falling again like waves on a quiet shore. Mara adjusted the frequency with careful movements, watching the creature's response. Each time the sound changed, the creature changed with it. When the tone rose, the tendrils lifted. When it fell, they sank back. "It's following the pattern," Terran whispered. Kale tilted his head. "Like a child following a voice in the dark." Mara nodded. "Then we keep talking." She leaned back in the chair for a moment, letting her shoulders relax. The cold was still in the air, but the ship felt warmer now, not just in temperature, but in spirit. The crew had something to hold on to. The creature drifted closer, but not in a rush. It moved slowly, carefully, as if unsure. Mara changed the sound again, this time adding a second tone, softer and higher. The ship's systems strained, but they held. Outside, the creature's shape rippled. The dark center brightened, not with light, but with a faint glow like heat beneath ice. "It's beautiful," Terran said quietly. Kale didn't answer. His eyes stayed on the screen, focused and thoughtful. Mara felt a strange pull in her chest. Fear was still there, deep and sharp, but now there was something else too. Curiosity, connection. She pushed it aside and focused on the plan. "Terran, how close are we to full engine power?" she asked. 60%, he replied. "Maybe more if we push it." Mara nodded. "Don't push yet, not until we're ready." She adjusted the sound again, turning it into a slow rhythm. The creature matched it, its movements becoming smooth, almost gentle. Kale spoke softly. "My people believe all things in the universe move to a hidden rhythm." "We call it the Great Flow," Mara smiled. "Sounds like we just found a way to play along." The ship drifted, engines low, power steady. The stars outside seemed to watch, silent and distant. Then, without warning, the creature changed. The rhythm broke. Its tendrils snapped outward, spreading wide. The dark center pulsed fast and bright. Terran jumped. "It's losing focus." Mara's heart slammed in her chest. She grabbed the controls and shifted the sound, trying to bring the rhythm back. But the creature didn't slow. It surged forward, closing the distance between itself and the ship in seconds. "Engines!" Mara shouted. Terran slammed his hands on the panel. The ship roared, power flooding through the systems. The Wayfarer's promise lunged forward, stars stretching into lines as they picked up speed. The creature followed. Kale grabbed the back of Mara's chair to steady himself. "It is no longer listening," he said. "It is chasing again." Mara's jaw tightened. "Then we changed the game." She pulled up the ship's external arrays, old communication dishes and signal towers that hadn't been used in years. An idea sparked in her mind, wild and risky. "Terran, route the music through every external system we have," she said. "All of them." Terran stared at her. "That could overload the ship." Mara met his eyes. "So will that thing if it catches us." Terran didn't argue. His hands flew across the controls. The hum grew louder, stronger, spreading across the hull, the wings, the engines, every piece of the ship that could carry a signal. The sound became a wave. The creature hesitated. Its tendrils wavered, curling in and out as the powerful rhythm washed over it. Mara leaned forward, her eyes locked on the screen. "Come on, hear us, feel us." The ship vibrated under the force of the sound. Panels rattled, lights flickered. Kale closed his eyes, his face calm despite the chaos. "It feels the flow," he said. "You are showing it something new." The creature slowed. Its dark center dimmed, then brightened again, this time in a softer way. The tendrils pulled back, no longer reaching for the ship, but drifting in the sound. Terran let out a shaky laugh. I think it likes it." Mara allowed herself a small smile. "Don't get comfortable." She adjusted the sound one last time, turning it into a long, steady tone that filled the space around them. The creature moved away, not fast, not slow, just enough. It drifted back into the darkness, its shape fading among the stars until it was just another shadow in a universe full of them. The bridge fell silent, except for the low hum of the engines and the soft breathing of the crew. Mara slumped back in her chair, her legs finally feeling weak. "Okay," she said. "That worked better than I expected." Terran leaned against the console. You just scared off a space monster with music, Mara shrugged. Humans are weird like that. Kale stepped closer to her. You did not scare it, he said. You spoke to it. Mara looked up at him. You think so? Kale nodded. It did not want to destroy you, it wanted to understand you. Mara thought about that, about the way the creature had moved with the sound, the way it had paused and listened. Maybe, she said, but let's not test that theory today. Taryn checked the engine readouts. We've got full power now, we can jump as soon as you give the word. Mara stood, stretching her stiff muscles. The cold had faded, replaced by a gentle warmth that spread through the ship. Set a course away from this sector, she said. Let's go somewhere friendly. The crew moved with renewed energy, their fear replaced by something lighter, something closer to wonder. As the ship prepared to jump, Kale looked out at the stars one last time. My people believed this place was cursed, he said, a region where nothing could live. Mara joined him at the window. Looks like they were wrong. Kale's glowing eyes softened. Or maybe they just never listened. The Wayfarer's promise leapt forward, light bending around it as it vanished into the bright path of faster-than-light travel. Behind them, in the quiet dark, the creature drifted alone, the last echo of a human song fading into the endless night. On the ship, the crew sat in silence for a moment, letting the weight of what had happened settle. Taryn broke the quiet. So, what do we tell the Alliance? Mara smiled. We tell them the truth. And that is, he asked. That sometimes, she said, the universe isn't something you fight, it's something you talk to. Kale placed a hand on the wall, feeling the steady pulse of the ship beneath his fingers. Where humans go, he said softly, the flow changes. Mara glanced at him, surprised. Kale met her eyes. I think I understand now why my people fear and admire yours. Mara laughed, a warm, real sound that filled the bridge. Good, because we're just getting started. The ship flew on, carrying its crew through the stars, not just as survivors, but as something new in a universe that had just learned how to listen. The jump through light ended with a soft ripple instead of the usual hard stop. Stars slid back into place outside the windows of the Wayfarer's promise, and the deep dark of the cursed sector was replaced by a wide, open field of calm space. For a moment, no one spoke. Mara stood at the front of the bridge, her hands resting on the back of the command chair. Her body still felt tired, but her mind was clear. The ship was alive, the crew was safe, and the quiet hum of the engines felt like a promise instead of a warning. Taryn finally broke the silence. We're clear, he said. No signals, no shadows, just empty space. A soft breath moved through the bridge, shared by everyone at once. Kale stepped closer to the main screen, his glowing eyes scanning the stars. It did not follow, he said. The creature remained behind. Mara nodded. Good, I think it had what it wanted. Taryn raised an eyebrow. And what's that? Mara smiled. Something new to listen to. She moved back into the command seat and brought up the long-range channel. The ship's systems adjusted, the soft hum shifting as they reached out across space. Let's let the Alliance know we're still alive, she said. The signal traveled fast. It didn't take long for the reply to come. The screen filled with the image of an Alliance cruiser, sleek and bright, its hull marked with the symbols of many worlds. The face of Admiral Reth appeared, his skin a deep green, his eyes sharp and focused. Commander Hale, he said. We thought you were lost. Mara sat up straighter. Not today, Admiral. Reth studied her, then Kale, then Taryn behind them. You entered the frozen sector, he said. No ship has ever returned from there. Mara shrugged lightly. Guess we got lucky. Reth didn't look convinced. Report. Mara took a breath and told the story. Not every detail, not every fear, but the truth of it. The cold, the shadow, the creature, the sound, the way the universe had listened. The bridge of the Alliance cruiser was quiet when she finished. Reth leaned back in his chair, his expression hard to read. You are saying you did not defeat it, he said. You did not escape it. Mara nodded. We talked to it. Reth was silent for a long moment. Kale stepped forward. Humans do not face the unknown with only weapons, he said. They face it with connection. Reth's eyes flicked to Kale. And you support this? Kale did not hesitate. I witnessed it. The Admiral exhaled slowly. This will change how the Alliance views that sector. How we view your species. Mara tilted her head. Good or bad? Reth's lips curved just slightly. That remains to be seen. The screen faded as the channel closed. Taryn let out a breath. I think we just made history. Mara laughed softly. Yeah. That tends to happen when you don't freeze to death. The ship continued forward, its path steady and sure. Later, the crew gathered in the common area, a wide room with soft lights and warm air. Some sat, some leaned against the walls, all of them tired but alive. Mara stood in the center, looking at the faces around her. Different colors, different shapes, different worlds. "We made it," she said simply. A low sound of agreement moved through the room. Kale stood near the edge, watching her. When their eyes met, he stepped forward. "My people will want me to return," he said. "They will want to hear what I saw." Mara nodded. "I figured." Kale paused, "but I have asked to remain on this ship." The room went quiet. Taryn's eyes widened. "You're staying?" Kale nodded. "Where humans go, things change." "I wish to see more of that." Mara felt something warm settle in her chest. "We'd be glad to have you." Kale inclined his head, a gesture of deep respect. The days that followed were calm. The ship moved through friendly space, stopping at a relay station where Alliance ships gathered. Word spread quickly about the Wayfarer's promise and its journey through the frozen dark. Some called it luck, some called it madness, others called it something new. A catalyst. Mara didn't care much for the name. She just knew what it felt like to stand in the cold and refuse to give up. One evening, she stood alone by the observation window, watching the stars drift by. Kale joined her. "Do you think it remembers us?" he asked. Mara thought about the shadow in the dark, the way it had moved with the sound. "Maybe," she said, "but I don't think it needed to." Kale tilted his head. "Why not?" "Because we left something behind," she said. "A song, a pattern, a reminder that it's not alone out there." Kale considered this. "My people believed the universe was something to endure," Mara smiled. "Humans believe it's something to meet halfway." The Alliance fleet arrived days later, filling the space around the station with light and motion. Ships of every shape and size gathered, their crews curious about the human vessel that had gone where none had returned. Mara stood on the bridge as Admiral Reth came aboard. He looked around, taking in the simple design, the worn panels, the marks of quick repairs and human hands. "This ship should not exist," he said. Mara folded her arms. "Yeah, we hear that a lot." Reth turned to her. "The Alliance Council has made a decision. The frozen sector will be reclassified." Myra raised an eyebrow. "As what?" Reth hesitated, then spoke. "A contact zone, not a dead place, not a forbidden place, a place of listening." Myra felt a small smile grow. "I like that." Reth studied her. "Your species is not the strongest, not the fastest, not the most advanced." Mara nodded. "We know. But you are something else," he said. "You change the space around you." Mara met his eyes. "We try." Reth inclined his head, then turned and left. The Wayfarer's promise remained at the station for a short time, then prepared to leave again. There were more stars to see, more quiet places to listen to. As the ship pulled away, Mara took one last look at the fleet behind them. Kale stood beside her. "Where will we go now?" he asked. Mara smiled at the open dark ahead. "Somewhere no one else wants to go." Kale's eyes glowed brighter. "That seems to be the human way." The engines hummed, warm and steady, and the ship slipped into the stars. Far away in the cold and silent sector they had left behind, the universe held a faint echo. Not of fear, not of hunger, but of a simple sound carried across the dark. A song that said in its own quiet way that nothing was truly alone.